Welcome back, viewers. We continue our exploration on the textual validity of the Holy Quran, the sanctity of the Holy Quran. A movie in explaining earlier on pointed out that Allah, who revealed the Quran as part of his science to demonstrate to mankind that indeed the Quran was revealed by him, made a promise to also protect the Holy Quran. Now, individuals have tried with their, not only by voicing their opposition to the Holy Quran, but have also tried to be physical in destroying the Holy Quran. Whether they have succeeded or have failed, I will revert to Movies Hub to explain and elaborate further on this point. If God promised to protect the Holy Quran, why has he given people the opportunity to burn the Quran?
This is a very interesting question. He did not burn the Quran, but he burned a copy of the Holy Quran.
Holy Quran. Very interesting.
The thing is, by burning one copy of the Holy Quran,
you have not burned the entirety of the Quran.
The Quran still exists. If you burn 10 copies of the Holy Quran, the Quran still exists. If you burn 1,000 copies of the Holy Quran, the Quran is still protected. If you take all the copies of the Holy Quran in the entire world and you burn them, the Quran is still protected, because the same night Muslims, out of their memories,
will reproduce
it in the same night. So you cannot burn the Quran, you cannot destroy the Quran. The Quran is so protected. You burn the Quran, then you take all the Muslims who have memorized the Quran, the entire Quran, and you put them into one place. Still, the Holy Quran, within one night, all the Muslims will be able, the other remaining Muslims who have not memorized it, will be able to recover, because all of us have memorized one part of the Quran or something. Huh?
So, will it be right?
I will go further.
Yes.
You take all the Muslims of the world.
Okay.
You take all the Muslims, you burn all the Qurans and everything. Still, the Quran will not be able, because most of the scientific books written in the golden era of Islam, they are all based on the teachings of the Quran. So this is a common tradition of Muslims, that whenever they have issued a fatwa in jurisprudence, in medical science, in astronomy, in mathematics, in all things, anthropology, in society, in all these subjects, they have always cited the Holy Quran. So then you have to destroy the entire books of sciences as well. Still, the Quran will not be finished. So the protection of the Holy Quran is a multi-layered plan of God. By burning one Quran, he has not done any harm to the essence of the teaching of the Quran. The same bird, the same burning will be recovered the same moment. It will never die out of this bird, no matter what you do. The only thing that he achieved is hurting the sentiments of Muslims. Hurting the sentiments, because, as I said, the Quran is a daily companion of Muslims. It is part of their daily routine. It is beloved and loved by them, and it is for them a letter from God for the guidance. So this was purely, there was obviously, it was burned in a European country, in Sweden, a country that would celebrate and sometimes look at their advancement of enlightenment and everything. But just this act has shown, and this act condoned also, unfortunately, by the people around it and the government and the structure around it, shows that they have made quite a few steps back in their society.
Because Sweden used to be one of the all welcoming cultures in the world. Their culture used to be very welcoming, and they are very, very considerate and accommodating of diverse cultural diversities in their country. So I was a little bit surprised when this issue came up.
It is, but it is not that surprising because it is the misunderstanding of the concept of freedom of speech also, and a concocted way of justifying it through freedom of speech. The example is, under freedom of speech is a freedom which humanity has been fighting for a long time to achieve. Freedom of thought, freedom of religion, and
freedom of
expression, and that is so everyone has a way to live in his own truth and to express that truth, so others may find it as well. But when freedom of speech is hijacked
or
abused in a way to hurt, and that is the only intention behind it, to hurt the feelings of others, then this will not develop the society and humanity in such. It will deteriorate it and the peace of this country. And these European countries, they understand it very well. Under the name of freedom of speech, they would not condone it to negate the Holocaust and the cruelties that have been done to the Jewish people. They will not condone it. There is freedom of speech, yes, but you cannot make fun, nauzubillah, God forbid, of those millions or thousands of innocent souls who have died during the Holocaust. Then there's a stop button. You will not. No politician will be able to do this in Europe
at all.
They're not. No. So where's the freedom of speech? We don't condone it. We wouldn't allow it.
Like going to put the swastika on the Jewish temple.
Like the police would remove it. So where did the police remove this man from burning the Quran? Well, you in Europe, by the grace of God, took a long time, but our freedom of speech would not allow for a man to openly say something against the Africans or blacks. Maybe they still do under closed rooms and whatever they want to do. We don't know. But openly it would not be allowed.
It would not be allowed.
It is open racism. So when it comes to speaking against other religions, then there is a stop, because it is not freedom of speech, is defamation. And the same should be applied to all religions. This is a teaching of the Holy Quran. In fact, in the Holy Quran, Islam, from its very theological point of view, the way it is, the way it's the whole kalma, is fully based on the unity of God, and how, in a way, offensive it is to Allah that you assign him partners in any way. And this is the overall theme of the Holy Quran. But the Holy Quran itself has said something, has given a golden rule, and has forbidden the Muslims that do not even insult those partners they associate to God, because in response to that they would insult in their ignorance also Allah. So this is something that you can express your opinion. You believe that I don't believe the in Islam, I'm rather this, I'm rather than atheist, I can be this and this. This is what you believe we can be. It's you think, you know. But the moment you start insulting someone, there's a stop button. You have to stop. And this is the teaching of the Holy Quran, you know. And this is a teaching that it is implemented, unfortunately, till today in Europe in only a one-sided way. As long as you speak against women, for example, you know, politician who speaks against women, or their people, whatever they say, you know, their remarks about women, you know, he would be called to account for that. Speak about other nations, he will be called to account for that. He speak about Africans, he is called to account for that. He speaks about Jewish people, he will be called to account for that. But if he speaks about Arabs, or he speaks about Muslims, then there's a freedom of speech. So this is something that has put the society, I think, quite a few decades back. And that is what hurtful. He has not done any harm to the Quran. There is no harm to the Quran.
He only aroused sentiments of Muslims.
He aroused sentiments of Muslims and brought back his own civilization a few years back.
It feeds into the editorial point I made before we started our discussion this morning, that it is born out of consciousness. If the individual is historically conscious about what he believes in, because the theories or the theologies upon which, for example, the Quran is canvas to the human family, comes the freedom of expression, freedom of speech that has been written in most constitutions around the world. So if people are conscious about their faith, I don't think they will rise up with a gun or a knife to go and harm their brother in the name of freedom of speech. This is not freedom of speech. Even the freedom of speech that has been captured in constitutions around the world has its limitation. Once you cross the boundary, you are taken to court and you'll be dealt with in accordance with the laws of the land. So it is very important we all understand and make research into what we have built our faith on. Maybe we also have to highlight, I would like you to highlight a little bit on the sanctity of symbols. That, for example, the Islamic symbols, its relevance to the Islamic culture.
You know, the word symbols is translated, is an English word.
Yes.
In Arabic and Islamic theology, the word that we use is sha'air. Sha'air in the Holy Quran has been mentioned that وَمَنْ يُعَزِّمْ شَعَائِرَ اللَّهِ, that those who honor and respect and regard and esteem the symbols or the things that bring up your memory in Allah, you know, that is in fact a sign of righteousness in your hearts. What does this mean? What does this mean? This means the symbols by itself, they have no value as itself. They have no power, no strength, because this would be idolatry, you know. But because these are symbols that remind you of Allah, so for the love of Allah that you have, you regard these things in high respect. You know, there's something that you know, one time during a battle, the son-in-law of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was captured by the Muslims. And the daughter of the Holy Prophet Muhammad was still in Mecca. And there was a treaty that in order to get your prisoners back, you know, pay them some ransom money.
Mm.
In that tradition, the daughter of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, she inherited a chain of her mother Khadija radiallahu anha,
Oh, no.
and she sent that as a ransom for her husband to the Holy Prophet.
Oh.
So Khadija was the beloved wife of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, and he got at that time so touched just by remembering this chain that this piece of jewelry that his beloved wife would wear,
Give it to him.
that he said that no, I cannot take this from you. So he paid in he made an organization, just addition for a thing, and he gave her back this chain and everything. The story is very relatable to all of us, because the people we love, when we have something that has remained from our mother or from our grandmother,
Yeah.
That thing itself has it's not that the spirit of the mother is living in it,
Yeah.
but it touches us.
Yeah.
Because it's the same perfume or the same scent that we have here, we have felt as well. So in Islam, for example, the Kaaba, the house of God, that that is our direction of our prayers. It has such a touching bond and memories in the hearts of Muslims, that what Allah has done from the time of Ibrahim alayhi salam and even before that, to protect this house and to make this his one of his major house of remembrance and prayers. That the moment, the intensity that a Muslim has when he sees it the first time, it is said that that prayer and that moment is accepted. It's not that it is the house that accepts the prayer. And Muslims are very clear about this aspect, that nobody confuses it in such a way. But it's only like, a piece of jewelry of God that reminds us of God. And if we don't respect them, and if we don't honor them, and if we don't show them, it shows that maybe we cannot be punished for it. There's no punishment for not doing this. But it just simply shows that something in our heart is missing, is not pure in that love. No man, when he leaves, or when he misses a beloved, would throw away the only remains of it.
It's difficult to throw it away.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I checked and I discovered that symbols are concepts that concern the relationship the human community have with their history or their background.
Yes.
So you get attached to, for example, your grandmother. Your grandmother is your history.
Yes.
Your grandmother is your background. So you get acquainted or attached to her in a way, just like Muslims are attached to the symbol of the Holy Quran.
Yes.
They are attached to it. So I perfectly agree to that extent. So it also feeds to the point you were making earlier on, by attacking the Quran or attacking the Qibla, or for example, those that went to the mosque to kill our brothers in Burkina Faso, for example, they have attacked a symbol of Islam, and that arouses sentiment, but they do not destroy the foundation of Islam in any way.
Yeah. The attack of Burkina Faso, it's something very heartbreaking.
Yes.
In a way that they have actually killed humans, our brothers. And these brothers, they were challenged to leave the faith, but they remained firm on that aspect.
Yes.
So what they have achieved is nothing. Here, the one who has been martyred, his name will be recorded
in history forever.
Forever. We will never forget their names. We will never forget their sacrifices. But nobody cares of what these terrorists have done, or what they do or they've achieved. They've achieved nothing.
Rather, their consciences will judge them forever.
Yes,
in an opposite direction.
If they still have one. But the thing is, some people they're dead inside. We can pray
no conscience.
God may guide them or something like this. But to do something like this, the conscience should have been there at that time. What I want to say is that, and we agree on this point, is really that by hurting symbols, by insulting them, there is no actual damage you're doing. There is no actual damage you're doing.
But does Islam permit members of the community in Islam to disrespect the symbols of other religious sects? Does Islam permit that?
Well, I've recited the verses of the Quran. I've quoted the verse of the Quran, where the Quran clearly forbids Muslims to insult, even destroying them is a different thing, to even insult them in those who they associate to God. Because this would never develop into a peaceful society. Because as a result, they would reply and insult Allah. So one time there is a hadith that the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, has forbidden that do not insult your own fathers. And the Sahaba just the Holy Prophet said, who would insult his own fathers? He said, by insulting the father of the other, and he would reply and insult you. You are the one who is the cause of insulting your own father then. So that's the thing, that in order, if we want not others to insult our sentiments and our feelings, then it should be that you shouldn't insult, first of all, the others in sentiments and feelings. What happened to the incident of the Holy Quran and the Khalifa of our community, His Holiness Mirza Masood Ahmad, Ayyadahullah Ta'ala bin Sahil Aziz, has in an early event, because this is not the first time, has given a very beautiful reply. He said that, these people who burn the Quran, one thing is, why they cannot come to discuss their grievances about the Quran on a decent academic level. The challenge of the Quran is there. Come to the Ahmadi community, ask questions, and we will reply to them. That's one thing. The second thing is, they are burning the Quran because they are misinformed of the teachings of the Holy Quran. And they are misinformed, unfortunately, by the actions of some unfortunate so-called Muslims. So, what we have to do, our task is, by sittings like this, is inform these people of the true teachings of the Holy Quran, which is a book that if you understand these teachings and you will find, you will not burn it, but you will rather try to highlight it for the peace of society. Some people say that we need a reformation in Islam. Like there was a reformation in maybe in Christianity with the Protestants, we may need a Muslim Luther, they would say. And that is those people who are uninformed of actually the things that Martin Luther did. If they knew what he did and the way he spoke and the way he had his campaigns, they would not want to wish something like that.
At all.
But from a general perspective of the general humanity that thinks that reformation is always good, the problem with Islam is not that the Muslims are behaving in a way because they are following the teachings of the Quran. The problem is that nowadays the Muslims are behaving in unacceptable ways because they have distanced themselves to the Holy Quran. And the Ahmadiyya community is not a reformation of Islam, but is the renaissance of Islam.
Renaissance.
Which means it is the community that says that the closer you bring the Muslims to the obedience and the teachings of the Holy Quran, the more peaceful the society will become and will be a benefit of all societies. Whenever you distance yourself from the teachings of the Holy Quran, for example, those who commit atrocities, they cannot justify these atrocities with any verse of the Holy Quran. It cannot be justified.
Right. Time is really catching up on us, but this point is also very important to bring the curtains down on our discussion today. Are there any prescribed consequences for fringe element? I call them fringe element because people from their culture are even against their hate speech, their hate behavior against other religious sects. Are there any prescribed consequences for such fringe elements? Is it right, for example, for members of the Islamic community to rise up against such individuals, or Allah, by His word to protect the Holy Quran, would deal directly with such fringe elements who rise up and attack the Quran or kill Muslims who have committed no crime but to go to the mosque and pray, who have committed no crime but to rise up and say, we have submitted our total will to the will of God? People who kill those people who attack the Holy Quran, do we have any consequences that will come their way?
You know, in the Quran, those who disrespect symbols, you know, as such,
absolutely, like the Quran,
like the Quran, there is no worldly punishment that prescribed for them. There's no worldly punishment prescribed for them because, you know, it's a symbol. It hurts our feeling, and to that, the Holy Quran and the teachings are that you should engage and try to show the best example of yourselves and continue to preach in a good manner, so these people sometime may understand.
Yes, but the Quran says we shouldn't add or subtract. For example, if you add to what God have said in His Holy Quran,
yes,
there are punishment for you.
Yes.
So if somebody who did not write but burn it,
yes,
if you say there are no prescribed consequences for that person,
no prescribed consequences in this world. Huh? No, the thing is, it's two confused matters.
Okay.
If you add a verse in the Holy Quran, you say this is what has been revealed to me and everything. Even for that, you know, there was people who claimed to be prophets at the time of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, and they were not killed or something. You know, you have to stop them in different ways, but that's a totally different discussion. The discussion of burning is a symbol of the Quran is something that you obviously it hurts. If it was happening under an Islamic government, then the same way a European government would remove a swastika from a synagogue, you know, the same way this man would not be allowed to do this in something like this, and he could be maybe get some fine or some punishment in that sense. What I was trying to say is that when it comes to the killing of human life, you know, there is a symbol, that's one thing that you have to protect, you know,
and the murder.
But when it comes to murder, then the discussion is totally different. But then you don't take the justice into your own hands. You know, when they have murdered and martyred our beloved brothers one after the other, The response of our community is not that of just being patient and just saying that that's what we have to do anyways, is calling the government of Burkina Faso to account and said that you have to take responsibility. You have to take not responsibility, but you have to take
prosecute the individual,
proper action.
Yes.
To take them, because if you let killers go like this and forgive them, it will create this
anarchical society. Yeah.
in the entire society. It's good. So it's not that we go and start hunting them.
It is up to the government to hunt them down.
Up to the following structure.
Okay.
The same thing is, what happens in Muslim, unfortunately, some Muslim countries, and that's there are some blasphemy laws, and somebody just makes a claim that he has made some act of blasphemy, disrespect of symbols, and then a crowd comes together and they start beating him and killing them, and they say this is the name of Islam, but Islam never condones something like this. What happens is that through resources, when somebody has made blasphemy, has disrespected, has insulted, has created restlessness within the society, the proper way to conduct is to go to the authorities and ask them to make a proper court case, give him all the chances to defend himself. And this is what has been done, and this is the verdict of the scholars of Islam even before Ahmadiyya. In Egypt and all these things, in the great scholars of fiqh, they have made this decision that in their societies there were sometimes some people, some crazy people, they would say something against Allah, and they would go to the governors and tell them, make a proper case, see why he said it, what he said, if he was confused, if he was sick, if he was something else, and then accordingly make an appropriate punishment for them. So the Quran, and that's also a very beautiful instruction of the Holy Quran, instructed us to never let go of our emotions. Don't let our emotions guide our decisions.
Yes.
But we should follow the proper procedure within a framework that we have acknowledged, the government or any structure that is at that time, that we should not condone these actions at all. We will write to the government of these countries,
for example,
that how were you able to condone it? We will take it to court.
Right.
That you should not be able to condone the burning of the Quran if you're not doing this for other religions.
Right, beloved. Coexistence, cohabitation is the key word here. Just as Islam will not support anybody to mount the synagogue and plant a swastika, so do we also expect members of other religious faith to also condemn attacks on Islam. Islam has been and will continue to be, and it should have as its primary focus to live in harmony with members of other faith. Members who are against the teachings of Islam or against the teachings of Christianity, against Buddhism, are not allowed to physically go and attack. You disagree based on the literature or the methodological differences that you have. The mythology that varies. If you don't understand, like Movie said, you call for an intellectual debate so that we dialogue, we discuss, we hotly debate the issues. Then at the end of the day, the objectivity of the issues that will come up shall form the basis for the determination of whose doctrine is right and whose doctrine is wrong. I believe this is the approach the world of faith should adopt, rather than going abusive on your opponent only on the grounds that you disagree with their ideology. This will eventually disturb and frustrate the harmony we all need to cohabit in the world we live in. This has been a very interesting edition of Discovering the Light today. It has been extremely exciting. It has been revealing. It has been extremely technical. And I believe if you take your time and sit down and analyze the issues we have discussed, gradually you will set your brains on the path of discovering the light. It is for myself and Movi and the organizers of today's Discovering the Light series that we wish you a blessed weekend, and we pray that God, out of his infinite wisdom, will grant all of us the heart of harmony so that we will live in harmony until we meet again with another Discovering the Light series. It is from all of us. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.